I'm on a road trip in Transylvania, and where better to start than in Cluj-Napoca, the historical capital of Transylvania. In pre-Roman times, this place belonged to the Kingdom of Dacia. The Romans invaded in 274 AD, but there have been settlements here for a long time before that, dating back to 6000 BC. In Roman and Dacian times, this city used to be called Napoca. In medieval times, it was called Kolozsvár, a Hungarian name, because it was under Hungarian rule. It's also been called Klausenburg, a German name, so many names for this city. City rights were granted in 1270 AD, and King Matthias Corvinus was born here in 1443. He was king of Hungary and Croatia between 1458 and 1490. This is Casa Mattia, actually the house where Matthias Corvinus was born. Cluj-Napoca, or rather Kolozsvár, became part of the independent Principality of Transylvania in the 16th century, and it became the capital of Transylvania in 1791. Cluj became part of Romania after World War I, along with the rest of Transylvania. It was named Cluj up until 1974. Then the communist regime wanted to rename it to Cluj-Napoca to refer back to the ancient Roman name. On top of a hill in the Setatuia Park, you can see a pretty run-down Hotel Belvedere and a magnificent view of the entire city. Turda is a small town half an hour from Cluj, and it has two hidden gems. The first is one of the world's oldest salt mines that has been transformed into an amusement park. They even have a Ferris wheel and an underground lake where you can ride a boat 120 meters below ground. The second hidden gem in Turda, or well, not all that hidden, is the Turda Gorge, a completely amazing ravine that you can walk through or above. Sighișoara is a small town with 28,000 inhabitants, smack in the middle of historical Transylvania. It's a UNESCO World Heritage site due to a well-preserved old town surrounded by a city wall. German craftsmen were invited here in the 1200s, and they built a city here called Castrum VI in 1280 AD. They were called the Transylvanian Saxons. I'm walking up a long bloody passage called the Scholars' Stairs. I guess they thought the scholars needed some exercise. Sighișoara was an important strategic place, especially in the wars between the Holy Roman Empire and the Ottoman Empire. The Transylvania Saxons were next to Wallachia, where Vlad II and his son Vlad III reigned. Vlad III, he was known as Vlad Tepes or Dracula. There are 164 houses in Old Town, and many of them are more than 300 years old and considered historical monuments. The most impressive parts of the city wall are the towers. Each functioned as an independent fortress so that there would be a decentralized defense of the city. There are cats all over this town. I love that. A town with cats is a good town. The town becomes quite touristy later in the day, so I recommend that you check it out early in the morning. In the village of Saschiz, you find one of the Transylvanian Fortified Churches. And it's a pretty cool sight. There used to be 300 of these churches, but now just a handful remain. Most of them can be found around the town of Sighișoara. So why fortified churches? Well, the Transylvanian Saxons were pretty hard-pressed. Wallachia wanted to invade, the Ottoman Empire was feuding with the Holy Roman Empire, and they were in between all of this. Since each village had a church, and each church had a tall tower, they used them to defend the villages. Makes sense? When driving in Romania, traffic rules seem to be more like traffic recommendations. I don't think I've seen a single Romanian follow the speed limits, and they get really pissed off if I try to slow down. Typical Romanian parking. This is Bran Castle, called Dracula's castle, which is of course complete rubbish, cause Vlad III never had anything to do with this castle, and neither did Dracula from Bram Stoker's novel. Still, I can enjoy some touristy and kitschy stuff now and then, so let's go full of vampire mode as we explore Dracula's castle. Half theme park, half history, very touristy, but still pretty fun to visit. In case you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm looking for the kitschiest fridge magnet I can find. Don't judge me, I collect fridge magnets. I think I scored a jackpot, right? Brașov is a city with around 250,000 inhabitants, making it the 7th biggest in Romania. In the Middle Ages, this city used to be called Corona or Kronstadt. Both names refer to crown, which some believe has to do with the city's coat of arms. The name Brașov came later on from a nearby river called Barsa. So the Slavic people basically butchered the name until it became Brasovia or Braso and eventually Brașov. The city was also called Stephanopolis from the Greek Stephanos, which means crown, and polis, which means city, so the crown city again. They were pretty hung up on this crown thing, right? People lived here in Neolithic times dating back to 9500 BC, and it was also part of the ancient kingdom of Dacia. But the Transylvania Saxons made it into a proper real city, and also the administrative capital of their part of Transylvania. Since Brașov is located in the middle of Romania, it's a popular tourist destination, both for the city itself, especially in summer, but also in winter. There are ski resorts, for example. But it's also popular for people traveling on to other parts of Romania. I'm not sure if it's fair to say that all roads lead to Brașov, or if I should say that roads spread out from Brașov to all parts of the country. Driving through the Transylvanian forests and the Carpathian mountains is quite spectacular. Did you know that Transylvania means beyond the forest? It's basically two words, Transylvania, from Latin. Now you know. Peleș Castle behind me is a neo-Renaissance castle in the Carpathian mountains on a road that used to connect Transylvania with nearby Wallachia. Unlike many of the other castles and buildings in Transylvania, this castle is actually not very old. It started to be built in 1873 and stood ready 1883. King Carol I visited this area in 1866, and he completely fell in love with the mountains and the views, so he decided to have a castle built here. The crown bought this land in 1872, and construction started not long after that. Peleș Castle is actually the first castle in the world fully powered by local electricity. It had a power plant installed from the start. The construction cost 16 million Romanian leis, which is equivalent to 120 million American dollars today. Technically, this is a palace in both form and function, but everyone refers to it as a castle. Pretty easy to see why, right? This castle lies at the border regions at the end of Transylvania, so this marks the end of my journey through Transylvania. And it's a pretty fitting end, isn't it? Now I'll travel on into the historical regions of Wallachia, the country of Vlad III, Dracula, and then onwards to the Black Sea. While I do that, you like and subscribe, but most importantly, have a great day.